Thank you for joining me today at A Touch of Blue Studio with Drawing with Grandma. Welcome back for another lesson here at A Touch of Blue Studio. We're doing another sketchbook lesson in graphite today of a wolf. I need to determine the best way to lay out this drawing, and each image that I've done, sometimes it's a different route. For birds, it's an oval, and then the placement of the eye. For this particular wolf, and his pose, the space between his ears and his forehead are really going to help me to establish the placement of the eye and then that line that intersects with the center and bridge of his nose. So that's kind of how I begin laying in the main features of the animals and people that I draw and paint, is to find that intersection of the bridge of the nose, how it relates to the ears and the other features. So I think I have the eyes placed correctly. They are pretty close together, but that line down the center of his forehead will lead me to the snout, and then we will try to build the nose out from that center line. So I'm working on the left here, and I've got to be sure that that black area of the nose is correct. I'm going to follow this line down from the center of the eye down to the corner of the mouth. Those little estimated marks are really going to guide and direct how I establish the initial layout. As I work, I want to consider the direction that the hair is laying and to accent my pencil marks according to the direction of the hairs and the lightness and darkness of the hairs. He's a pretty light wolf in color. He's, I think, a gray wolf, but there's a lot of dark patches and there's a lot of detail and clumps of fur that I'll need to try to suggest. To make it easier to complete the other features, I want to be sure that these eyes are laid in the correct spot, but also that there's enough area between the eyes on that bridge of the nose to be sure that it's accurate and to build him the right size. So now that those things are placed correctly, I can begin building the unique shape of these ears. I think this one is a little big, and so I need to probably cut it down a little bit on the left. So you can see that I'm going to make that a little smaller and reshape this one and add a little bit more fullness to that top of the forehead. This ear might be a little wide as well, but on the other side. So I can adjust that as I move toward the darkest shading areas, and I will adjust if I need to. So it's like a little puzzle. So I'm going to use a blender now, and this will help me to establish some of the shadow shapes, and then I can make final decisions about the overall layout of the drawing. So I want to get the darks laid in to establish any particular patterns, like these nostril hairs, or the, not nostril hairs, but whisker pores, the hairs that kind of make up that chin. And if these shadow areas are correct, then everything else should fall into place pretty well. I'm going to enlarge this eye, and then this strong shadow that leads from that corner of the eye down to the edge of that mouth will help to give the illusion that he's turned. And I also am going to enlarge this eye too. Okay, now we can begin laying in the unique form of the hair, how it's laying. And I will try to interact the hairs together with simple line variations, some sense of texture, and of course pressing hard to get dark and light gradations in my strokes. I think it will help in this particular drawing to lay in a darker value behind him so that his tips of the hairs that are really white and light will show up better. So I'm going to come back in a moment with the background laid in, and then we'll continue the drawing. First, I want to enlarge this eye once again. It is the focal point of the whole drawing, and so I need it to be not only accurate, but very interesting and detailed, and it leads us to the rest of the drawing. I want him to have an expression that is calm, and that the viewer will be able to look throughout the drawing and see some interesting things going on. So I think that eye is correct. So let's come back. Here I've laid in the background now, and you can see that I'm adding detail. I took my eraser into the dark background where the tips of the hairs are light there on the left side and up on the right mane. And now I want to work on this nose, because those tiny little hair areas help to form the symmetry in the middle of that nose on either side. So placing a few directed lines that angle from one side to the other will help give that illusion. So here's this little study of this wolf. Thank you for joining me today at A Touch of Blue Studio with Drawing with Grandma.